Hi, my name is Jon Cifuentes. I'm one of the co-founders at All Turtles. I'm super pleased to introduce Mursal. Mursal, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Seat. So what's Chatterbox? Take us through it.
So Chatterbox is a solution to the problem of underutilized refugee talent. We train and employ people who have become displaced from their countries due to war and other crises and are either unemployed or underemployed in their host communities. We train up that talent for them to gain employment as online language tutors. And that's just one of the many areas of employment that we hope to develop in future.
Wow, that's super interesting. So what are some of the languages that you're supporting now or training up? What are you focused on?
So our most popular languages are Arabic, Spanish, French, Mandarin. I think over the next few decades, we'll also be able to provide languages like, well, increasingly Mandarin, also American English, because climate change is going to really impact people's lives. It's going to, the Lancet, which is a really well-respected academic journal, predicts that there'll be 1 billion climate change refugees by 2050.
Wow.
So I think the number of languages will sadly be going up.
This product feels deeply personal. It feels like there's a bit of a story. But how did you get here? Can you walk us through it? Why this product or why this problem?
So I arrived in the UK as a refugee with my mum, who is called Petuni, and she was a successful civil engineer in Afghanistan. It's not very easy to become a female civil engineer in Afghanistan, so she would have fit right into the All Turtles family of, inspiring, hardworking people. And although we know talent is distributed evenly around the world, unfortunately hers was displaced from the place she'd found success through hard work and education. And after the Taliban took over Kabul, we moved to the UK for safety. And a woman like her really shouldn't have found it hard to gain employment. She had a civil engineering degree, 10 years in practice, spoke English and 3 other languages fluently. But because of frictions in the labour market, a little bit of bias as well, she was unemployed in the UK for more than a decade. And so I grew up seeing this extraordinary woman unable to break into the labour market. And her story ends well. She used her language skills to gain employment in the language services sector, starting with interpretation, and now she's a language teacher in schools. So I basically copied my mum for an idea, and I thought that many people could have benefited from what her courageous steps forward into the labour market were, and it's proving somewhat of a success.
Super cool, yeah. So you immediately tackle it as an entrepreneur and think about how you can scale this problem up. It's really awesome. So language learning it's a big market. There are a lot of versions of different products. There's a Rosetta Stone. They have 1 million different products. There's Duolingo. We're at All Turtles. We're working on a TOEFL and TOEIC test prep product. So they take a lot of forms. What works or what doesn't work? Why are you tackling it the way you are with in-person, online, face-to-face tutors?
So you mentioned that the root of our language teaching style is quality human connection. And it's because I think our belief as a team is that in the future, tech and platforms are going to become increasingly cheap and lower in value as the number of them grow. And we're sort of seeing this in the language learning market, which is becoming highly commoditized. Like the difference between an app like Duolingo and an app like Memrise, minimal. But true value, it comes from humans, and especially in an industry like language learning, probably one of the most human endeavors you could ever undertake. And I guess the educational side of it is we tap into what's called integrative language learning motivation, which comes from a desire to become closer to the people and culture represented by that language. So it's sort of a motivational loop. Our students want to get to know our super interesting tutors better, and that encourages them to study more. And our tutors themselves are very motivated to share their stories because they're incredibly proud of the countries they've come from. They don't often get the opportunity to talk about what their lives were like. And so this is building some really beautiful connections and some very effective, highly motivated language learning.
This company sounds operationally complex. What's the hardest part about making this product? Is it technical? Is it finding tutors? Is it training them up?
Honestly, I think probably everyone in the audience can attest that most startup founders struggle with focus. So far we have a B2C business, a B2B business. We are currently at 5 UK universities. We have a growing consumer business coming through our website, and we're looking to expand to corporate. So I think one of the things I'm really looking forward to digging into with the All Turtles team is sort of picking the one that we're going to scale.
I'm sure we'll have a lot of focused conversations.
Very.
So it's Refugee Week in London, right? This week.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, what is that? What does that mean?
So Refugee Week is a celebration of what the refugee communities around the world, and particularly in the UK this week, represent. I think one of the really depressing things I've seen in the last decade is, as the numbers of refugees in the world has gone up, the number of sort of vitriolic and unfounded impression of the refugee community that's also grown as well. I think one thing that people should remember is that the current refugee system of human rights is one of the, I think, profoundly beautiful agreements we've made with each other. It's sort of saying that if your country is going through a hard time and you can't live there anymore, you can come and stay at my place until you get back onto your feet. And this sort of guarantee that we all have to safety if our countries no longer can provide safety for us is, I think, fantastic. And any one of us could need that at any time. We're all just one red button away from needing to take advantage of the liberty that the refugee human rights afford us. And I think certain orange-haired presidents also have shown increasingly Western people that we're all quite vulnerable to political instability. And I think Refugee Week shows that refugees are a constant. I think, sadly, there will always be a need for people to move to protect their lives, but that refugee communities are also extremely productive. If you look at somewhere like Silicon Valley and trace where people are coming from, a large number of the most successful entrepreneurs come from refugee backgrounds. And it's the same in every other industry. So Refugee Week celebrates that, the achievements of the refugee community.
Right. That's amazing. So how else can people get involved? How can people help?
So we're raising our seed round at the moment. That's one way. Another way is, so we've had a lot of interest from the business community, corporates, who appreciate that if they're already buying language learning products, why not have social impact at the same time? So I guess if someone wants to introduce Chatterbox as a company benefit into their office or replace their existing language service provider, that would be another way.
Super cool. So what's next? What's next for you, for the company?
So our team's about to grow. We're currently a team of 3. We'll become a team of 7 in the next 3 months, which is going to be fantastic to finally sort of have the resources that we need to fully realize the potential of this idea.
Awesome, Mursal. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you having you.